good partners on the show for the last 10 years. And a lot of times some of these things happen and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all. Darker last week for this light of the day. Way to go, Mollywood. This is Mollywood. Hell with Hollywood. We in Mollywood now.
Not classy when ladies curse. I'll see you in the gym, Stephen A.
Mama Qerim.
Squat
Get
rack.
her
Let's go.
talking to me that way. Mama Qerim. Get decisions that we deem to be in our best interest for whatever reason. And that story is for her to tell. Do I have an idea? Of course I do. Am I going to share it with you? No. Because again,
Stephen A. Smith tried to act cool about Molly Qerim's sudden departure like it was no big deal, but even he admitted he didn't know the full story. That's wild because if Stephen A., ESPN's golden boy, was in the dark, then something serious was going down behind those studio doors. It wasn't just another career move. This was a full-blown shutdown of information. In trying to play neutral, Stephen A. accidentally blew the lid off a way bigger secret. ESPN keeping its top star clueless wasn't random. It screamed cover-up. This wasn't a friendly goodbye or mutual parting of ways. Nope, this was a silent explosion, one that left the whole First Take family shook. After more than 10 years of chemistry and debates that defined the show, Molly just vanished on September 15th, 2025, effective immediately. No warning, no farewell, just gone. What made everything even crazier was what Stephen A. later hinted about why the two couldn't keep working together. The truth turned out to be way more twisted than anyone thought. Behind those smiling debates and viral clips, the vibe had been off for months. Insiders whispered about pay gaps, ego wars, and a total collapse in trust. The perfect partnership was crumbling behind the scenes, and soon the cracks were impossible to hide. When Stephen A. spoke up on September 16th, his tone sounded real, emotional even. But just hours later on his Sirius XM show, the mask slipped. You could hear the frustration, the confusion, like he was tired of the games happening behind ESPN's walls. That's when fans started catching on. Something wasn't adding up. And the timeline? It's suspicious as hell. Less than 24 hours before her final episode, Molly was still on air, smiling like everything was fine. Then, boom, Sports Business Journal dropped the bomb mid-afternoon. She'd already turned down ESPN's contract extension and walked out for good. No press conference, no heads up, just pure chaos. What Stephen A. said later that day made it clear everyone had been blindsided. His tone carried that awkward mix of shock and exhaustion. Like even he knew this story went deeper than the press release let on. That phrase, abruptly resigned, tells you everything. This wasn't planned, it wasn't graceful, it was a cold, sharp cut, and people inside ESPN were scrambling. Burke Magnus, the network's president of content, later admitted the leak caught them completely off guard. Before they could spin it, the news hit the internet, and the partnership was officially dead on arrival. Then came Stephen A.'s viral moment. The details are none of y'all business. Followed right after by, but it's not as if I know all the details. That contradiction had fans spinning. How can the man known for knowing everything suddenly know nothing about his co-host leaving? It was the first real clue that even he had been shut out of the loop. Molly finally confirmed her exit in an Instagram story saying, "After much reflection, I've decided it's time to close this incredible chapter and step away from First Take." But here's the kicker. She didn't mention Stephen A. at all. 10 years sitting next to the man and not even a thank you? Fans caught that immediately. And former ESPN host Marcellus Wiley called it out on his podcast, saying her silence was definitely intentional and probably personal. And then came the money talk, because that's where things got real spicy.
last night, she abruptly resigned as the host of the show. And to say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement. Molly is a friend. Molly is a co-worker. Molly is somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. What is that? I mean, what is that? I understand the UConn fandom and all of this other stuff, that's your alumni, but the nerve to show up to work dressed like that. Ladies and gentlemen, she has not lived up to the standard that has been set right here on First Take.
Stephen A. locked down a monster 5-year, $100 million deal in March 2025. That's $20 million a year. Meanwhile, Molly's check, reportedly around $500,000 to $600,000, he was making nearly 40 times more than her, and they shared the same stage, same screen, same spotlight. That kind of pay gap doesn't just sting, it explodes tensions from the inside. Even though both of them built First Take from the ground up, Molly Qerim was never treated like she was on Stephen A's level. Not even close. For 10 straight years, she held down ESPN's biggest morning show, keeping fiery personalities in line, steering messy debates into must-watch TV, and turning chaos into ratings gold. She wasn't just a host, she was the glue holding the whole thing together. Yet despite all that grind, her paycheck didn't even scratch the surface of what her male counterparts were getting. That pay gap wasn't just unfair, it was wild. Stack her salary against the guys at ESPN, and it's honestly embarrassing. Kirk Herbstreit pulling $18 million a year. Mike Greenberg chilling at $6.5 million for Get Up. The Pardon the Interruption duo, each making around $6 million. Meanwhile, Molly, the woman literally opening every weekday morning for ESPN, was pocketing less than $600,000. That's not a gap, that's a gaping hole. And then came the twist that made fans' jaws drop. Just hours after Molly's exit went public on September 16, 2025, ESPN turned around and proudly announced Malika Andrews had signed a multi-year deal worth millions. The timing couldn't have looked worse. One woman walks out underpaid, another gets a fat new contract. Talk about a brutal contrast. Former ESPN analyst Marcellus Wiley broke it down perfectly on his show, saying Molly had watched younger talent sign bigger deals and finally snapped, saying, "Enough is enough." Wiley claims she went to ESPN asking for a raise that matched her decade of service and instead got hit with a low ball that felt like a slap in the face. He called it straight disrespect, and honestly, that's putting it lightly. Now here's where it gets tricky, because Stephen A's part in all this raises eyebrows. The man's pulling $20 million a year and wields serious power at ESPN. If he had pushed for her to get paid fairly, it probably would have happened. But reportedly, he didn't say a word. That silence from her co-host of 10 years, that might have been the final straw that ended everything. Not long after, whispers started flying that Fox Sports had swooped in with a massive offer, around $2 million per year, nearly 4 times her ESPN salary. If that's true, Fox clearly valued her more than the network she helped carry for a decade. Fans had always loved their chemistry, but insiders began to wonder if maybe their closeness off camera had blurred the lines too much, turning what was once teamwork into tension. Because when it came to getting the respect she deserved, things behind the curtain weren't clean or simple, they were messy. And to really understand why their partnership crashed, you've got to rewind through years of uncomfortable moments that built up slowly, one awkward exchange at a time. What looked like a fun, lively duo on TV was actually barely holding together behind the smiles. The money fight was big, but it wasn't the only thing. Their chemistry had always been complicated, walking a fine line between friendly banter and something that felt a little too personal at times. Fans noticed, and they didn't stay quiet about it. Over the years, Stephen A made a few on-air comments about Molly's looks that had people talking. Some brushed it off as just jokes, but plenty of viewers called it out, questioning why that kind of talk was happening live on ESPN. While Stephen laughed it off, Molly often looked frozen, trying to play along so the show wouldn't derail. Those playful moments weren't harmless. They made things awkward for her in front of millions. And then there was that moment, the infamous shoulder comment. It might have sounded like a joke to him, but fans never forgot it. That one line summed up everything wrong with how blurred the lines had become. It showed exactly why this work relationship couldn't last. Because once those boundaries got crossed, there was no going back. Then came that viral vibrating phone moment in October 2023, the clip that had social media in flames. When Molly's phone buzzed mid-segment, Stephen A repeated the word vibrating over and over with that signature smirk, turning an innocent slip into something cringe and uncomfortable. You could literally see Molly trying to stay composed while the internet twisted the moment into a circus. That moment wasn't just awkward. It said everything about how she was being treated on set. Instead of being respected as the star she was, Molly became the punchline. Her professionalism never cracked, but the respect around her definitely did.
Not only did she keep me and many others in line, she did it with dignity, and class, and kindness, to say the least. We'll miss her and wish her every blessing on her future. I personally am grateful to her for her friendship I will miss spending every weekday morning with her right by my side.
And once that kind of tone sets in, it's hard to shake. So when contract talks came around, that imbalance, the one everyone had ignored for years, finally caught up. Insiders said you could feel the tension building behind the scenes. Creative differences, side-eye glances, and quiet arguments about the show's future were bubbling just beneath the surface. By this point, Stephen A. wasn't just ESPN's top face. He was ESPN. His $20 million salary came with major power. The kind that lets you call shots, pick guests, and influence who gets promotions. That level of control changed everything, including how he interacted with the people who helped build the show beside him, especially Molly. Then Martellus Wiley dropped a theory that had everyone talking, that Molly felt completely alone at the negotiation table. After 10 years side by side, she expected her co-host to back her up, to use his weight to make sure she got paid fairly. But according to Wiley, that support never came. And when someone you've shared a decade of screen time with doesn't stand up for you, that cuts deep. Molly's farewell post on Instagram spoke volumes without saying much. She thanked the most brilliant, passionate, and entertaining voices in sports, but never mentioned Stephen A. once, not even a passing nod. That silence hit harder than any goodbye statement could. It was quiet, but it was pointed. Fans noticed immediately, and so did media outlets. After 10 years of early mornings, that cold omission screamed that something personal had gone wrong. Behind the corporate spin, ESPN was struggling to juggle its massive payroll. Competing with streaming platforms and rival networks forced tough choices: who to keep and who to cut back on. And let's be real, when one person's making $20 million, someone else is getting squeezed. That squeeze hit Molly hardest. The message couldn't be clear. Stephen A. was the franchise and everyone else just supporting cast. But the tension didn't start with contracts, it had history. Remember the 2019 incident with LeVar Ball? When Molly tried to move the conversation along and he fired back with, "You can switch gears with me anytime," that one sentence blew up online. Fans were outraged, calling it straight up inappropriate. ESPN banned LeVar afterward, but the damage was done. That moment became a stain that followed Molly for years, and LeVar didn't stop there. When people called him out, he snapped back saying, "Who cares what her last name is? Anyway, the lady crazy." His words were disrespectful and showed exactly what women like Molly face in the sports world. Constant battles just to be taken seriously. And when he later said, "That's not a good-looking woman to me," it crossed another line completely. Those moments piled up over time, showing a clear pattern. Molly was constantly fighting for respect in spaces where men thought crossing lines was just part of the show. Each time something like that happened, fans kept asking the same thing: where was Stephen A? Did he step up? Did he defend her? Or did he just sit back and let it slide? For many viewers, his silence during those uncomfortable moments spoke volumes. It wasn't just about one incident. It was about years of her standing alone on live TV while surrounded by men who often treated her professionalism like a prop. Burke Magnus, ESPN's president of content, tried to calm the storm, calling it a normal business decision. He said they were exploring new opportunities for Molly within the network, but that explanation didn't convince anyone. Fans weren't buying it. If ESPN really valued her, why couldn't they just pay her what she deserved? Why move her off the show she basically built from the ground up? It didn't make sense unless you looked at the pattern. ESPN had long been accused of paying women less, even when they were doing the same level of work as their male peers. Once people started comparing salaries, the trend was undeniable. And that's what made Molly's case sting even more, because under her guidance, First Take hit its highest ratings ever. She managed wild debates, kept clashing personalities from exploding on air, and gave the show the polished rhythm that made it must-watch TV. She wasn't just a moderator, she was the secret sauce. Her timing, calm presence, and command of the room turned what could have been chaos into gold every morning. Yet her paycheck told a different story. The network treated her like she was easily replaceable. Like the woman keeping everything in line didn't matter as much as the man making the noise. And just to twist the knife even deeper, within hours of her departure being confirmed, ESPN rolled out the red carpet for Malika Andrews' multi-million-dollar extension, making it painfully clear where their priorities really were. It sent a loud message. ESPN was ready to pour millions into new female faces, but not the women who built their empire from scratch. And while Stephen A. started off sounding respectful in his first comments about Molly, that tone didn't last. Once he hit his radio show, his words came out sharp, defensive, frustrated, and suddenly it felt like the story was nowhere near over. His claim that Molly's exit came as a total shock said more than he probably meant it to. That wasn't just surprise, it was a confession that the trust between them had cracked. Either communication had completely broken down, or Molly had decided to keep her moves secret, even from the man she'd sat beside for 10 years. That kind of silence doesn't happen by accident. It happens when something's deeply broken behind the scenes. When the news dropped, the internet exploded. Fans and insiders started connecting dots, asking if Stephen A. was really blindsided or just pretending for PR. Why hadn't he stood up for her when the contract drama went public? Why hadn't he spoken out while she was fighting for fair pay? Some even accused him of staying quiet on purpose, letting the storm pass while protecting his own image. Either way, it wasn't a good look. Those questions turned into a full-blown debate online about power, loyalty, and allyship. When you're cashing $20 million a year, do you owe something to the people around you, especially the ones who helped you rise? Fans felt the silence from both ESPN and Stephen A. said everything, that the network was more interested in protecting its moneymaker than addressing the unfairness happening in plain sight. By September 2025, the writing was on the wall. First Take's power duo was officially done. Whether it was about paychecks, control, or plain ego, that bond was cracked beyond repair. What once looked like lively chemistry now looked like quiet resentment. The partnership that once carried Sports Talk TV had gone up in flames, and there was no saving it. And the impact went way beyond just one show. Molly's exit peeled back the curtain on something much bigger. How women in sports media still face uphill battles for fair treatment and equal pay. Fans saw her as the example, proof that even at the top of her game, a woman could still be undervalued in a male-dominated space. ESPN moved fast after her departure. Within days, the network announced a 30 to 45-day trial period for potential replacements, rotating hosts like Shea Pepler-Cornett and Christine Williamson. The speed of it all felt cold, like they wanted to prove a point. Nobody, not even Molly Qerim, was too important to replace. But that urgency clashed hard with how ESPN treated Stephen A. His $20 million deal made one thing crystal clear: he was untouchable. The double standard couldn't have been louder. Then old clips started resurfacing. Moments where Molly stood her ground against Stephen A.'s intense jabs. Moments fans once found funny but now saw with different eyes. What used to seem like playful banter now looked like hints of tension that had been brewing for years. And just as things hit a fever pitch, reports dropped that Fox Sports had offered her a huge deal. Around $2 million per year, nearly 4 times her ESPN pay. If true, that proved Fox saw the star ESPN overlooked and decided to pay her like one. Stephen A.'s response to all this chaos? Calm, maybe too calm. Outside of his polished public statements, he stayed quiet, dodging every follow-up question. That silence did nothing to stop the rumors. It only made them louder. Fans filled in the blanks themselves, painting their own version of events, and none of them made him look great. At first, his emotional tone made people believe he cared. But after that, total silence. No push for a fair deal, no mention of the pay gap, no sign he'd used his massive influence to back her up. That gap between his warm words and cold inaction hit fans hard. It made them wonder, was Stephen A. genuinely hurt by her leaving or just protecting his own throne? Sure, he praised her publicly, saying all the right things, but insiders claimed he didn't fight for her when it mattered. Once those salary numbers leaked, $20 million for him, less than $600,000 for her, the contrast became impossible to ignore. It became the image of ESPN's gender pay gap problem. And the wildest part? Molly wasn't some new hire. She'd been there 19 years, with a full decade hosting First Take. So if she couldn't get a fair paycheck, what did that say about ESPN's idea of equality? Viewers started asking the hard questions. Who decides whose voice matters more? Why does the one yelling over everyone get millions, while the one holding it all together barely breaks 6 figures? Both roles built the show, but only one got rewarded like it? And then came Steven's strange, polished calm. His words were perfect on the surface, but people could sense he was holding back. Was he protecting Molly's privacy or avoiding the parts of the story that might make him look bad? Nobody could say for sure, but that mystery kept fans glued to every move he made. That's what makes his position so complicated. On one hand, he's just another ESPN employee trying to keep his career stable. But on the other, he's Stephen A. Smith, a man with power, influence, and a voice that could have changed things. If the reports are right, he chose to stay quiet instead, and that silence, it might have been the biggest missed opportunity of his entire career. Everyone knew Molly was there for every single win, every record-breaking rating, every fiery debate, every viral moment that made First Take a household name. She wasn't just part of the success, she helped build it. Yet even after years of sitting beside Stephen A., her paycheck never came close to matching his. That gap became the perfect example of how women in media can do everything right and still get shortchanged. The truth hurts. Molly didn't walk away because she failed. She walked because she refused to keep working for crumbs while someone else ate like a king. ESPN's refusal to give her a real counteroffer spoke louder than any corporate statement ever could. They could have tripled her pay to $2 million a year, when she still would have earned just 10% of Stephen A's deal. That math hit fans hard, and it made people question what ESPN really valued. So what does that say about the network's priorities? Was Molly truly replaceable, or did ESPN just underestimate the power she brought to the table? The real answer will show up soon, when her replacement's paycheck drops. If the next woman gets more, it proves ESPN could have paid Molly fairly all along. But if not, then it's just another sign of corporate arrogance dressed up as business decisions. Looking back, those fiery moments between her and Stephen A. feel totally different now. What used to seem like playful on-air banter might have actually been Molly's subtle way of standing her ground, keeping her composure while drawing the line with class and professionalism. In the end, her exit turned into something much bigger than a contract issue. It became a wake-up call, a reminder of how sports media still struggles with power plays, pay gaps, and selective loyalty. Molly's decade of consistency, charm, and sharp hosting deserved celebration, not underpayment and silence. Stephen A. Smith's part in all of this will always be up for debate. Could he have done more? Absolutely. Should he have used his massive platform to push for fairness? No question, but instead he stayed quiet, and that quiet will follow him no matter how big his next headline is. At its heart, this story isn't just about two co-hosts. It's about how power decides worth, and how silence from those at the top lets unfair systems keep winning. Molly's choice to leave wasn't weakness, it was strength. Sometimes walking away is the only way to make noise loud enough to be heard. Her departure didn't end a show. It exposed an entire industry. It opened the door for a real conversation about respect, equality, and recognition in media, one that's still echoing today. So what do you think? Did Stephen A. play it safe to protect his throne, or did he just drop the ball completely? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe. We've got more stories coming, and this one, oh, it's far from over.